WNST.net. With the Orioles out on the road, going on to Toronto and into Boston next week, I thought we'd get a little more baseball involved here. And we haven't had Phil Wrye on since they were crowned champions probably last fall. And I should have gotten you on during spring training, but we go down to Bowie where they're on the road and headed up to my wife's homeland of New Hampshire this time of year. Hope they get some good lobster roll while they're up there and maybe some chicken tenders at the back room. Phil Wrye, the assistant GM of the Bowie Baysox, joining us here to talk all things baseball. What's going on, man? Happy spring to you. I know when the weather sucks, it really sucks for like all the minor league teams everywhere, as well as the big league teams during April and May, right?
Yeah, I mean, we do everything we can to get the games in, and when they're scheduled, you know, as a lot of people don't realize in the minor leagues, our guys hop a bus and go everywhere. So the less time on the bus, the better off. And you know, if we can get them in, we try to do that, whether it's a little drizzly, a little cold, whatever. But we try to play it, and that's what we've been able to do most of the time this year.
Man, if I could just get Kendall and Millsy to let me do a road trip, that would be fun, man. You know, that would be really, really Bull Durham, Major League. You know, that would be just fun, you know.
Well, you should have. You actually probably could have done that earlier this week, since our guys were going up to do the New England tour, as we call it, when they play the Portland Sea Dogs and Hampshire Fisher Cats. Typically, as I mentioned just a minute ago, that everybody drives everywhere. We actually fly our guys up there. So they actually took off on Tuesday morning very early.
Well, that's not the same now, you know, flying a 45-minute flight to New Hampshire. Hell, I do that every Christmas Eve, man.
Yeah,
well,
it beats the 12-hour bus ride.
I would say that I've done that too, right?
Yep.
I mean, you know, I've done a lot of buses to Foxborough now, Phil.
But actually, Millsy and Howie Clark actually jumped on the bus with the bus driver Monday morning at 8 o'clock and took the ride up instead of taking the flight. So that could have been either a very silent bus ride or a very spirited bus ride.
Dude, we would have done Facebook Live for 8.5 hours, and I would have periscoped that thing. You know, I'm going to say this from the heart. Of all the issues I've ever had with Mr. Angelos and the Orioles and how the place has been run and the winning and the losing, if you were to ask me two of my favorite people ever, Gary Kendall and Alan Mills would be in the top 5 if they're not 1 and 2 together. So to see them win, to see them have the success, and to have known them at the same time when they knew each other, and they were relatively close 20 years ago, to be honest with you. They knew each other from bullpen days and tossing the players in the summertime back in the mid-'90s. It must be something to have that kind of chemistry through all those years, and for you to be working with guys like that of high caliber.
Yeah, I mean, they're two high-caliber guys, high-quality guys. I mean, you know, Gary, for us, has been a rock. This is his 6th year managing the Baysox, which is double the tenure of anybody else that's managed here.
Wow, over 20 years, really?
Yeah, I mean, he you know, like I said, 6th year. I think we've had 2 managers that have done 3 years in a Bowie uniform, but Gary, you know, being here the 6th, I know they like having him in here, and I know being a Maryland guy, you know, he likes being in this spot. He likes to teach. He likes seeing the young guys come up, and he likes seeing them develop and move on to the next level. And what you don't usually see in minor league baseball and organizations is guys getting called up from Double-A, but that's certainly what happens here. You know, just the past 2 years alone, you've had Michael Givens and Asher Tolliver get called up right from here, and some guy named Manny Machado a couple of years ago.
I've heard of him.
From here.
I've heard of him.
I've heard of him too. He's pretty good.
I hear he has a good right cross.
Yeah, he has a pretty good right cross too. I think we've all seen that. But you know, when you can go into a locker room. And I know the story was out there about Tolliver. We were on the road. We had just suffered an extra innings defeat, and Gary got the team together, and everybody kind of thought it was hey, we got a lot of baseball to play type of meeting. It ended up being Asher Tolliver's going to the big leagues, and everybody kind of jumped on top of him and celebrated that. So when a guy's put in, 75, 80 games at the Double-A level over 3 years and gets that call from Double-A to the big leagues. It's a big thing, not just for that player, but for the coaches, for the organization, and for the guys on the team. And
well, that's as much of a celebration as really is winning a championship, right? And so there have been some nice. There's a lot to feel good about, for you. I mean, it's your 18th year there, Phil, right? I mean, you've been through some good and some bad, and when you're winning and you've got chemistry and you've got good people around, the teams come and go, right? I mean, you're not always going to have a good Double-A team. That's all part and parcel of if you get too good, guys get promoted. If they stink, guys get fired, right?
Yeah, I mean, that's the way it goes. I mean, over the course of the years, there have been some ups, there have been some downs over the past few years. Obviously, the ups have far outweighed the downs, culminating last year in the Eastern League Championship, first time we'd ever played for it and win it. So we're 1-0 in that situation. It was really a cool moment this year on opening night when we got a chance to give our players their championship rings back in April, and we started this season with many guys that had either been on the team that won it at the end of the year or that had played for us last year. We had a couple of guys that got hurt and were done for the year that didn't stick around the team. They were back down in Florida rehabbing or home or whatever the case might be. Guys like Chris O'Brien, Parker Bridwell, et cetera, that weren't here at the end for the ultimate win. So to have those guys back on the team and they were a part of it to start with, I think out of our 25 guys that we started with, 21 of them had actually played for us last year, and wow. I think 17 or 18 of them were actually on the team when we hoisted the trophy. So to be able to go out there pregame and do a ring ceremony, which a lot of people don't understand, ring ceremonies on opening day in the minor leagues don't typically happen. They usually happen at spring training when they can get the guys that are going up to AAA, that
guys
are spaced out
are scattering, right? Literally, right?
They'll do it either before a spring training game or on some backfield at before a minor league spring training game. But we worked with the Orioles to make sure that could happen opening night here as our first time. We wanted the fans to do it. And the rings were so nice that the looks on the guys' faces when they opened up the boxes, were, I can't say it on the air, but holy, about how big they were. And over the past few days, I've been texting out to guys like Brandon Snyder and Marcel Prado and guys that are no longer in the organization that have moved on and Terry Doyles and guys like that and making sure that they got their rings because they were shipped out and, just unbelievable. Like, Brandon Snyder has a ring from World Series ring from the 2013 Red Sox, a AAA ring from the 2014 Pawtucket Red Sox, and a AA ring from the 2015 Baysox. He's got socks, and socks.
You don't think of him as a ring collector now, do you?
But he said this is actually bigger, now not as valuable, but bigger than the ring that he had from the World Series in 2013. And he was really stoked about getting it. Now, I also kidded with him, and I said, you got a World Series ring, a AAA ring, and a AA ring. We need to get you to go back up. We don't need any A-ball and low-A rings going on. But he actually just got called back up by the Atlanta Braves a few days ago, so he's back in the majors, which is a good thing.
Phil Wrye joining us here, assistant GM of all things Bowie Baysox, 18 years now down there talking. So winning a championship from an organizational standpoint, you've given me the baseball side, right? Everybody feels good, manager, pitching coach, whoever it is, right? In any organization, give me the backroom story of what it means to have to capitalize on that as an organization. And as you said, the first thing you had is an opening night where you have a ring ceremony. That's a pretty good feel. But I would also think that, just visibility's up and the reason to come to the ballpark's up this year, and especially now that the weather's getting a little better.
Yeah, I mean, it's been a fun thing. Obviously, we've been putting it out there as much as possible, but
it looks great on the website, by the way. The flags, Eastern League champions.
We actually have the championship banner right inside the main front gates every night, so people are taking a lot of pictures with the championship banner. We have it right there so that people can see it.
Bling bling.
We put the championship trophy right by our fan assistance center.
I like it.
So people can take pictures with it. It's not covered in glass or anything like that. It's out. People can touch it. A lot of people don't realize that the championship trophy is kind of like what they do with the Stanley Cup. It goes from team to team. Obviously, it's not as polished as the Stanley Cup is. It's got some wear and tear to it, but people like looking at the names of the teams that have won it in the past, and like taking pictures with it. So we've seen a lot of that. For us on the business side of it, it does bring visibility. It was really fun in the playoffs last year. We had great crowds for our playoff games, sometimes knowing when we were going to play and sometimes not knowing if there was going to be a tomorrow. For example, in the finals, we came home from Reading tied 1-1. We lose Game 3. You're going to play Game 4, but you can't put tickets on sale for Game 5 until you win Game 4. So when you win Game 4, you've got about 16 hours to sell a game for the next night. And people came out in droves, which was really great. And at that time of the year, it's not about the wacky promotions. It's about winning the championship and putting on a baseball game. And that's what we did. And the baseball loving people, Orioles fandom, came out on those days to watch high level pressure baseball. And on the business side of things for us, that really helped us in terms of the visibility and people wanting to come down and see more. And, there's a lot of people in the area that don't really know that the guys that end up playing in Baltimore actually come through a place 30 minutes south of Baltimore to get there.
And it's so easy to get to the ballpark. I mean, it really is. I mean, even from the time it was designed and built, the roads have gotten even better and faster, and you get there quicker if you're from Baltimore. I mean, I know I can get there in less than 30 minutes. I believe that.
Yeah, it's nice to be able to use that outlet to educate people, too, that, hey, Manny Machado did come right from this field. He played 2 games at third base, got called up and was a platinum and gold glove winner at third base in the major leagues. Hasn't spent one day in AAA ever. Same thing with Michael Givens and guys like that. Brian Mattis, when he was with the organization, got called up right from here to make his major league debut. So there is a lot of talent that comes through here, and people that want to see that before they go up to Baltimore can do that and sit up close to the action and meet these guys and get autographs and have a conversation sometimes with them and see them as they're progressing and see what the future is for the big league club.
Well, I know you've been at it a long time, and now you've got a ring as well. I was just looking through the other Eastern League champions. Harrisburg won a bunch of them. Back at the turn of the century. And I guess those were all the Expos players at the time.
Yeah,
New Haven.
I think they won 4 or 5 in a row.
They won 4 in a row, 96 through 99. And Akron has always had a really obviously competitive team. New Hampshire, my wife's from Manchester. I know the little Fisher Cat Stadium down there on the riverside. We've never been to a game there, but I even know Trenton was really good for a period of time. To see your name amidst all that and to have actually gone through it last year, I mean that's a great moment for any guy like you that spent your life in minor league baseball doing this and loving this.
Yeah, I mean, when you first get into the business side of sports and you're working in it, it's kind of cool to be around the ballpark and, there's the players and things like that. After 18 years, that there's still a little bit of that, but it's not, stepping on the field isn't, the grand thing anymore. It's, for us, it's entertaining people and getting people to come out and watch and have a good time and to forget the troubles of the day or what's going on at home or family life or work or whatever. That's what I get the joy out of. But at the end of the day, you'd like to field a competitive team, and since we don't control that, that's all controlled by the Orioles. You just hope that what's coming up through the system and what they sign as minor league free agents and things can help get to that point. And eventually, in your career, you want to put the ring on your finger. And last year, we were able to do it, and I haven't worn it much because it's too heavy for the hands.
It's too damn big, right? I mean,
it's been on about 3 or 4 times, and opening night I wore mine, and special occasions it'll come on out, but.
The special occasion will be when I come down. You better have yours on, man. You better be blinging.
Bring it from home that day.
Absolutely. Phil Wrye joining us here from the Bowie Baysox. All right, so what do you guys have going on now? Yastrzemski, man, said you had some movement on the field, and then you got some games coming up the end of the month. I want you to promote away. If you got a cow milking contest down there or something, I need to know about it. And
we'll leave those to Dylan Bundy.
Hey, man, my only. Well, that's not true. I've had 2 hits. I was 1 for 2 in the media game in '92. Okay. Schmuck struck me out, and then I hit a double down the line. And I did get a single off of Tippy Martinez once, and it was on your field in Man, it was 96, 5, 6, 7, somewhere in there in that range. But yeah, so I mean, I've got history in Bowie.
Well, I mean, it's either you could either now want to extend that history or retire at 500.
I'm not broken down, dude. What's the old country song? I'm as good once as I ever was,
Yep.
right?
You can always get up there and do it once. 15, 20 times, who knows, right?
You know what? I have a feeling that with Kendall and Millsy around, if anything were to happen to me, there is an ice bucket nearby, and
Always.
they know I have a sense of humor. So, after all these years, you have to have a sense of humor.
Absolutely. Well, on the field here, we're actually right now in the midst of a 4-game winning streak. It's our longest of the season. We started it at home. We were actually home against Akron over this past weekend, and they're one of the top 2 teams in our league, never mind minor league baseball as a whole. They're just pretty well stacked in that Cleveland organization, but we're actually able to sweep a doubleheader from them this past Sunday. We were dug in a very big hole in Game 2 of that doubleheader. We were down 5-0 after the first, but we had a 9-run inning, which resulted in the ejection of Akron's manager and some shenanigans there. But came back.
There's nothing like minor league shenanigans. You think the major league shenanigans are great? Get out of the minor leagues and watch the shenanigans.
Yeah, they can tend to put on a little act every once in a while, which is fun. Especially with social media, you get to see those all the time. I think the best one ever was the grenade by Philip Wellman. That was still my favorite.
Wally Backman had a couple of really good ones, didn't he?
Yeah, he did too.
Yeah.
Gary Kendall can have his moment here and there.
Hey, send me the highlights, please.
Yeah. Back in the day,
find that on over to me, man. I want some GIFs of that.
We'll have to see if we can get some of those.
Yes.
Our team has changed a lot since opening day on the offensive side anyway. I mean, Trey Mancini started with us, and Corbin Joseph and Mike Yastrzemski and those guys started with us, who are now all in AAA. We've had a couple guys come down from AAA. Joey Taraslovich. We actually just got on the AAA AA shuttle is Garabez Rosa, who is he's infringing now on Caleb Joseph's all-time Bowie record of games played, which I think is at 432. Rosa's I think within about 37 or so games of that. So I know he probably does not want to break that, but and I know Joseph holds that record very, very dear to his heart. He's come out and told me I don't want him to break it. So that'll be interesting to see if we get close to that. Henry Arrudia has come down to us and is turning on the offense, hitting over 300 in about 20 games for us, playing outfield DH for us. So that's been a nice piece to our offensive lineup. We're still waiting for a couple of guys that performed well last year to get going for us. We see glimpses here and there. Hopefully they can break out of it. Quincy Lattimore struggling around the 200 level, still got a little bit of power there, but we're hoping he can break out soon. One of the nice surprises this year, and you kind of think about his age, Chance Sisco behind the plate is hitting 315, 320. So we always know he has a bat, and he's shown that throughout the time. But he's one of the youngest players in AA, at probably one of the more demanding positions as catcher, and he's catching a staff that keeps rotating here and there, and still putting up offensive numbers. It's unusual to see a catcher batting third or fourth in a lineup, and he's doing that for us and being an anchor since day one in our lineup. So it's been nice to have him and a few other guys kind of balancing that out. On the mound.
Give me the Chris Lee story. I want to hear about him. I see his name.
Yeah, Chris Lee was, if you think about what the Orioles, in essence, gave up for him, they gave up an international signing slot to acquire him, and it's hard to acquire left-handed pitching, and that's just what he is. And he went down to Frederick last year, and I know that the pitching coach and the managers down there in Frederick last year really worked with him and tried to establish a routine for him. I think from what I have heard, he was kind of a little bit all over the place, and they got him into a routine which helped him bring everything together. And then he was promoted up to Bowie and was a key part in our end-of-the-season run to the championship and actually pitched a couple games in the playoffs for us. Started out this year 5-0, ERA under 3. His strikeout numbers aren't huge, but I think that will come. He's only got 19 and 51 innings. Keeps the walks down, keeps the ball in the ballpark for the most part. He's on the DL right now with a little bit of a little soreness in the shoulder. I don't think it's anything to worry about. I think they're just kind of putting him on there to get rid of it before it becomes something bigger.
But he's been really good. I mean, he's the one guy,
really
you see who's doing well. He's the guy I want to hear about as an Oriole fan, right?
He's on the 40-man. I think he's got a little bit of time left to go before he makes a jump. But he is left-handed, which is always nice, and he is a starter, which is always nice. Whether he'll slot into that spot in Baltimore if he gets there, not sure, but so far he's been okay. And I think in the next week or two he'll probably get back out on the mound, and I think they're just looking to calm everything down. A nice addition to our staff, he had a really great game last night on the road, was John Means, who joined us from Frederick a week and a half or so ago. He's 1-2, but the ERA is under 4. He threw 7 strong last night up in Portland, which was nice to see, and gave up 1 earned, 4 hits in 7 innings, which was great to see. The one guy that's really under the radar for us, I think, is really in the bullpen, is a guy named Donnie Hart. Donnie Hart came up towards the end of our season last year and is a powerful lefty coming out of the bullpen. He actually throws sidearm, so it gives a little bit of a different look there, and also a power lefty, which is nice to see. 30 strikeouts, 26 innings, usually is a 1-inning guy, 1 1/3 inning type of guy, giving up less hits than innings pitched, ERA under 2.5, and when we had Tolliver here this year, it was usually Tolliver was the first lefty, Hart would be the second lefty. Now Hart's our really only lefty in the bullpen, and has really risen up. He's 2-0, like I said, and he's really becoming that power lefty out of the bullpen, and I think he's really worth a look. Really good makeup, kind of a quiet guy, but goes about his job, and really is doing a good job for us, and I think O's fans should look at that name and keep an eye on that name because of the way he throws, because of the velocity he throws, and because he's got late inning ability stuff coming out, whether it's situational or to toss an inning or an inning and a third or something like that. I think that's a guy that people should keep an eye on too.
Yeah, well, Tolliver, obviously they're going to be looking at all these guys as the summer goes along, and they're going to need help in the bullpen because the starting pitching's not there. I mean, everything that happens with the Orioles affects you guys down in Bowie.
Absolutely. And from what we're hearing through the grapevine too, I think Caleb Joseph might join us next week if he gets cleared to resume some baseball activities, maybe DH for us. So, and
I know he's your favorite, and he can add some days to his Bowie stay, right?
He can add. I don't know if officially we'll add them because they're rehab. They're not assigned days, so I think we can keep him at 432.
He's going to lobby you, man.
He might.
No doubt about it.
He might want to attack, especially as Garbez Rosa gets a little closer. One thing I didn't mention about Rosa is the guy can play everywhere. I know he's liked up in Baltimore. He's a guy that does not complain or anything if he gets sent down from AAA to AA. He just puts the uniform on and goes and plays. He can play third, he can play short, he can play second. He's now playing first for us. He can play all 3 outfield positions. Oh, and by the way, he's hitting 371 for us right now and really being a catalyst in the in the lineup. A doubles guy. He's got some pop. He can drive guys in.
He's a perfect Oriole. He doesn't walk either.
Yeah, that's true. He's got 3 of those down here this year.
A whole 3, okay.
Yeah, a whole 3. He doesn't strike out a whole lot. I mean, he's got 30 strikeouts and 124 at bats, so it's not a ton. But he's very versatile. He's what I like to refer to as a gamer. Doesn't care where he plays as long as he's putting the uniform on and in the lineup every day. And that's why he's so versatile. He can go up to AAA. He can go down. I would not be surprised down the road if he ever got a chance in Baltimore, just because we all know that Buck likes versatility and guys that can play multiple positions. If he ever got a shot, I'm sure he'd do well with it. But he's well liked in our clubhouse, I know.
Hey, Phil, tell everybody when they're coming down there. You guys are home. They can go to Baysox.com and just check it out like I did, right? You're home middle of next week, and then you get a nice little stretch at the end of June, right?
Yeah, we're home Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. Next week, the 14th through the 16th. Couple of fun promotions for Orioles fans. Wednesday is Orange Wednesday. You can wear Baysox Orioles gear, save $5 off a box seat ticket. Or if you have any fans out there named Jennifer, we're doing a Jennifer Appreciation Day. So if your name is Jennifer, Jenny, Jen, it can be Geni.
When
whatever.
is that?
That's on Wednesday. Yep, Jennifer Appreciation Day.
You're making that up.
I am not. We're doing it. There's actually a Jim Appreciation Night in July, too. So if your name is Jim, Jimmy,
Hold on
James,
here a
whatever.
Second. Let me look this up. Is this on the web? This is the
on the
15th.
web. It's legit. Completely legit.
Wednesday the 15th.
Yep.
Hold on,
so
I'm going to have to look
homage
this
to
up.
Jennifer's in music, film, arts, and if your name's Jennifer,
my wife's name is Jennifer, by the way.
There you go. It's an $8 box seat ticket, half price ticket for with an ID named Jennifer, Jenny, Jen, and then in July on the 14th of July, it's Jim Appreciation, same package, and we're trying to do some things with that. Just trying to be out there. And then for the redheads out there, we're actually doing Ginger Night on the 16th of June. So redheads can get box seat tickets for $10. We're going to honor redheads in sports and everything else. And
you wacky minor leaguers, man! It's crazy what you guys do.
And back hair appreciation's coming back in July as well. We're going to be doing some back hair waxing and things like that. It was a lot of fun last year. We're going to do some more this year. But
I'm ineligible for that. I already gave it the office.
Me too. Thank God.
Yeah, exactly.
One of the really cool days coming up, though, when we are home later this month, we have our Star Wars night out here, which is unbelievable. We've got dozens of costume characters and movie quality
There really is a crossover between Star Wars and baseball that I'm all on the baseball side. I don't do the dark side. But my son has a lightsaber and a whole outfit. I'm sure he'll be down there.
Yeah, but it's fun. And then on Sunday, the 26th of June, it's actually really fun. We have our Meet the Team Day out here where fans can meet Baysox players, get autographs, take pictures. It's also our Maryland Pride Day. We're doing a really fun day to celebrate Maryland. We have a T-shirt giveaway that's got the Maryland flag, Baysox logo on it. We're also doing a pregame 1K beer run. We want people to dress up in their best Maryland gear, purchase the tickets in advance. It's $18. You get a box seat ticket. You run 3 laps around the field.
Yeah, 1K. I was going to say, is that just out to center field and back? Or
No, you run around the field, around the whole warning track. Mm-hmm. After each lap, you run around the field. You get a nice cold 12-ounce beer. You can refresh. First person to complete all 3 laps and 3 beers gets to throw out the first pitch, gets a nice trophy as the winner of the beer run. A lot of people do it as groups of people. So it's basically a box seat ticket and 3 beers for $18. You can't get that at a ballpark anywhere. And you don't have to run. You can walk, stroll, jog. Doesn't matter to us. It's a lot of fun there. And we're also going to be wearing Maryland flag jerseys that day. And the Maryland flag jerseys are going to be auctioned off.
Might be a little warm for
charity.
that. Yeah, you think, no?
What was that?
It's not a whole flag. It's just okay. You're not wearing an actual flag. Just the flags on the jersey.
No, just a jersey that's designed as the Maryland flag, Baysox logo on it, championship patch logo on the sleeve. We're going to auction those off for some charitable ventures. They're going to look really cool out in the field. The guys are now asking me they want Maryland socks to go with it. I'm like, but none of you show your socks when you play. You wear your pants down, so why am I going to get you socks if you're not going to use them? So we'll see about that, but it's going to be a lot of fun. Celebrate Maryland out here on a Sunday afternoon.
Phil, I appreciate you, man. It's great having you on. You got a lot of things going on down there. I'll look into the Jen thing. I'll inquire about that for the 15th.
We're celebrating Jennifers.
All right, man. I do that every day. See you later, Phil.
Sounds great.
Assistant GM of the Bowie Baysox, Phil Wrye, joining us here. We are WNST.net, AM 1570, and WNST Towson, Baltimore, and we never stop talking Baltimore sports. Welcome back, WNST Towson, Baltimore, and WNST.net. We have had kind of a wild week. We were out in the OTAs on Tuesday with the Ravens. We're going to be back on the field with them next week for the mandatory. Luke Jones will be there. I'll be there all week as well, monitoring the Stanley Cup. Now the NBA Finals has gotten more interesting all of a sudden, but it was the right cross of Manny Machado to the jaw of Yordano Ventura that made the real news in the morning on Wednesday and into Thursday. And here to talk about all things baseball as well as the Kansas City Royals, one of their great alums and one of my pals in Major League Baseball. He also is a baseball coach, instructor. He is Brian McCray, live from Kansas City, Missouri. And, man, what a whitewashing for the world champions here this week. I mean, Orioles really busted out the brooms on them, B-Mac.
Yeah, the Royals are struggling right now. They came off a great homestand where they went undefeated 6-0, and then went on the road and got beat up in Cleveland, and it continued in Baltimore, and now they go to Chicago to face the White Sox. So they're reeling a little bit. They're injured. They're struggling offensively and pitching. But the good thing about it is they're still in the thick of the race in the Central because nobody's going to run away with it there.
Well, okay, now let's get to the fight because I guess that's the juicy part. And we'll go backwards with the Royals and the injuries and all that. And I want to go all around Major League Baseball with you, Brian. But, the genesis of this, who knows where it really started and what word was said or what inside pitch was taken the wrong way. But these are two guys now that have a reputation for some issues. I think this time around it was clearly Ventura coming inside, and he probably has the greater reputation for this. And on one side, you have Machado, who looks like he's going to the Hall of Very Good and the Hall of $300 million contracts. And you have Ventura, who looks like he's a couple of knuckleheads away from heading to his third organization at some point 3 years from now and being a guy that we say, oh, remember the guy that wanted to be Pedro Martinez but had a 6 ERA?
Well, I think that Ventura is still young and immature. Still trying to figure out some things, and, his emotions get the best of him at times. And we saw it last year early in the season with some of the dust-ups that the Royals had. And, he'd been better down the stretch last year and into the postseason, but I still think he's a work in progress. The situation the other night, I think both players probably reacted in a way that you can find fault on both sides, and this may stem back a couple years to 2014 with war words that the Orioles and the Royals had, particularly with Ventura pitching inside and not being able to control the inside part of the plate. So, it's an unfortunate thing that happens. The suspensions haven't been handed out yet, but I think that Ventura, because of his reputation, is going to get more games than Machado will be. But I think they're both young guys that still need to grow up a little bit and learn some things about the game and how to go about their business.
And what does that mean to you, having been in a lot of these locker rooms, first as a young guy yourself? Your dad was quite the disciplinarian. Your dad was a manager, a coach, a player himself. All of these unwritten rules that get passed down through kangaroo courts, and then really a level of expectation and decorum within clubhouses. Dude, you spent a long time in the big leagues. I'm sure you came running out of the dugout, plenty of times on your own, and probably got some chin music, and how these things are played out. What if you're commissioner? What can you do about it? Because the fans sit at home and say, "Can't they do something about this? This is ridiculous."
Well, the commissioner, they've set rules and they have more suspensions now than they did before, but there's suspensions for PED use too, and there's still guys do it.
Sure.
It's emotions, and it's guys, thinking that. Guys throwing at them on purpose, and somebody throwing 95 to 99 miles an hour, it hurts. And you want to get them back. And guys that have long memory, some of these things escalate over time, and it may be 3-4 years. This Orioles deal may be a 3-year deal in the making. Something was going to give, and something was going to happen. I think you can't stop it altogether. It's like hockey trying to stop it. It just doesn't happen. Human beings and emotions and, those things, heat of the moment, those things are going to happen there in the game of baseball. You just don't want it to be a thing that goes on, weekly. And, I think the best thing that they can do is set some ground rules, not let the umpire be the one that determines intent. I think that's a big problem, too.
Well, and then there's just the whole thing where Buck Showalter walks over to Machado and says, this guy's going to try to hit you. Like, you sort of know it's coming. You sort of see it coming, and then it comes. It was the hardest pitch of the night. It hit him in the ribs. You could see him sort of shake off the sting on the third step. And it really looked to me like Perez wasn't in any hurry to stop him. And as a teammate, Brian, you've been the guy out there in the outfield to have to come in and run in when this happened. I remember Benitez famously, nobody in the Orioles even ran out there to save his ass when he's throwing at Martinez's head and throwing at these Yankees guys' head in Yankee Stadium after giving up home runs.
I think you get to the point where your teammates are tired of it. The Royals organization and the teammates may be tired of his act. You know, he's getting them in trouble. He's getting them in situations where if I'm a position player on that team, I'm thinking I'm going to get hit because of something you're doing, and you need to cut that out. And the conversation has probably gone on with him, but it hasn't taken an effect to where he does some different things there. So I know there's some division on that team, how they feel about Ventura. And you could tell by the reaction, body language from some of the players that they weren't too keen in getting in a dust-up again with Ventura out there on the mound.
And I guess conversely, the thing got cleaned up quicker than any brawl I've ever seen, right? I mean, there was nobody in white and nobody in blue who really wanted to be out there with any score to settle or bench versus bench, right? Like, as badly as the Orioles may be pissed at Ventura, no one was taking a swing at Hosmer, right? I mean, so,
Right.
you know, that thing cleaned up very, very quickly, which I guess really does speak to the respect between Showalter and Yost and to the organizations themselves, because sometimes these things turn into the second, third, fourth, fifth fight, and then you really make the news. But
I think it should have been the thing to do there. C.B. Buckner was the first base umpire, I think. He got in between Machado. I would have let him go because they were jawing a little bit, and I think one of the coaches for the Royals had Ventura, so they were kind of separated from the pack. I would have said, you guys really want to do something here. Let them go and let those two, everybody else stay out of the way. Let those two go at it and see what they'll do. And I bet nothing would have happened.
Well, that's another thing. A lot of guys go out to the mound to dance and don't want to fight. And I think after the Ventura-Ryan fight, which was during your era, I mean, I remember standing in the Oriole clubhouse and watching all the players in there after they played that night, watch the Ventura-Nolan Ryan fight 22 years ago, and then obviously the Odor thing a couple of weeks ago here. It's not good for baseball, right? I mean, this is something that, they should all kind of get together and try to fix. And as fans, it doesn't feel like it's fixable.
Well, the thing I have a big issue with is you look on MLB.com the other day, and this brawl is all over the website. So you can't have it both ways if you're a league. You're promoting hits and people coming to your website and maybe buying product and making money off a fight, something that you're trying to eliminate from the game. SportsCenter, all these other news outlets this was one of the first things. There are a lot of great things going on in the game of baseball. This shouldn't be the highlight, the lead into Major League Baseball for that evening.
Well, I watched the morning news, Brian, and it was on the morning news. Guy hits 3 home runs. It doesn't get featured on the morning news. But when there's a right cross that delivers, right, if they go out there and dance a little bit, it's not news. It's news because of the punch, right, and because it landed, literally. Why else would anybody be interested in that outside of the baseball world? Brian McRae joining us here from Kansas City. Well, aside from the fight, and I'm done with that. We're moving on to Toronto. Kansas City's moving on as well. But boy, what a diminished version of the Royals right now. And you see how teetering and on the brink the success can be. I know you live out there in the community. You waited a long time. You and I have been friends a long time. You waited a long time for that team to be relevant, win a championship, really drink in the fruit of all of that, which is a sold-out stadium every night, even a Tuesday and a Wednesday night now. Royals game's the place to be. It's the hottest ticket in town. And there's a lot of scrutiny on the team and a couple of injuries, a couple of bad weeks. And, next thing you know, it's a lot different than last year. They're going to have to scrap this year for sure.
Yeah, it's a lot different, but I think people thought that was going to be the case. They weren't going to just cakewalk through the American League and the American League Central. I still think this is a team that can play in the postseason, and they're going to have a shot at that, get some of these things straightened out. I think they're a better ball club than they played the last week to 10 days or so, and that'll show up, I think, later. But the key right now is to get Alex Gordon back, to get some stability in the starting rotation, and then they may make a move. They made moves last year. They got Zobers. They did some things last year down the stretch to get this team where they wanted to be, and I think they'll do the same thing because the window of opportunity for this team to win as many championships as they can is probably three years. And I'm going back to 2014. So 14, 15, 16, it's going to be done here pretty soon because some of these guys are going to be free agents and leave.
Well, and you say that, and it's like almost a given. And every time I talk to somebody in Tampa Bay, it's like a given. A lot of teams now have these franchise guys. And, you get the vibe that if Chris Bryant turns out to be the next coming, he'll be a Cub for the next 15 years. You figure Trout will figure it out in California. And Bryce Harper, the Nationals will have to figure that out. Machado in Baltimore, not to mention Correa and Sano and Lindor and these a lot of these places. But Hosmer's a real guy. Hosmer is into it now and has won a ring. All the rest of these guys are just sniffing around, trying to win a big game in October. It would seem to me to be logical that they wouldn't want to let that guy out of there because he's clearly the unquestioned leader. But the loss of Moustakas has been a big deal as well.
I think that with a few of these guys, they're not Kansas City guys. They won here. They were in this organization. But Hosmer grew up in Miami, and a guy like Moustakas grew up in the L.A. area. Later in their career, they get a chance to get some money and go closer to home, they may do that.
Well, I mean, that would so it really does feel like it's a closing window. See, you try to keep the window open and do all this, and then when you make these deals for Zobrist, when you make a deal for Cueto, you wind up giving those guys away. The Orioles are dealing with that every time they go see Eduardo Rodriguez up in Boston for 60 days of Andrew Miller and trying to chase the ring. At least in Kansas City, you had a parade. It was a hell of a parade.
Yeah,
I saw it on TV.
Ring and they got it. And I think that's what you have to do in the situation that they're in. You can't keep everybody, but you try to win when you can, strike when the iron's hot, worry about the future later. They gave up a lot of good minor league players that are going to be good big leaguers down the road, but they got a ring. And in the end, that's what matters. And then they'll retool after this bunch goes away, and they'll try to make that window a lot shorter to get back to being a prominent team. Then, Dave Moore, yesterday was his 10-year anniversary as a GM. The first 5 years he was with the Royals, they were the worst team in the American League, worst winning percentage. The last 5 years, they've turned it on and gone to the World Series twice, won a World Series last year. So, they're hoping that once they get this little window, that the next one won't be a 10-year gap.
Right, it's always good having you on, man. I appreciate the insights as always. Tell me what you're doing out there. You're coaching ball, right?
Been coaching college ball at Park University. It's an NAIA school north of Kansas City. We finished about a month ago. So I'm done with that and just doing some recruiting and taking some summer classes and relaxing a little bit, doing camps and clinics all over the country. And in Canada, I do some things with the Blue Jays alumni up there in Canada next month. So I travel a little bit for fun, travel a little bit for baseball, and get out to the ballpark as much as I can. Enjoy
it, man. Enjoy it. It's great having you on. We'll hopefully catch up soon, get some barbecue out there in Kansas City sometime.
All right, Nestor, you take care.
You got it. Brian McRae, one of my favorites, B-Mac, joining us on the road from Kansas City, talking all things Yordano Ventura and Manny Machado. Orioles off now to Toronto after busting out the brooms on the Kansas City Royals the last couple of days. You can find me out in the Bio Toyota Audio Vault 24 hours a day from anywhere in the world on your mobile device by downloading the TuneIn Radio app. We come in crystal clear from wherever you are. The morning newspaper, 7 a.m. It hits your email inbox. That is powered up by Planet Fitness and PlanetFitness.com. And last but never least, breaking news, Machado suspensions, trades, but no rumors, only facts at WNST's Tech Service. It's all brought to you by Coons Ford of Security Boulevard. And, of course, Dennis is here on Thursdays driving you home from 3 until 5. We are WNST.net, AM 1570, and WNST Taos in Baltimore. And we never stop talking Baltimore sports.